Today's interview is with Matt Teifke. Matt is in Austin, and he's worn a lot of different hats in the real estate field. But he started out when he was 17 years old as a real estate agent. His mum was the driving force behind that. She inspired him to get into real estate. She started cleaning houses and then built a portfolio to 16 homes, and it's up to 20 homes at this point. So really cool story. And he's worn a lot of different hats. He's been an appraiser. He's worked for leasing in a property management company. Now he owns part of a property management company. He owns part of a construction company. Is a 50% owner of a brokerage and invests himself. So a wealth of experience, really cool stories, really cool conversations. Stick around for all of that. As always, like and subscribe on Wrestling with Real Estate, the YouTube channel. Go to the WWRE Podcast and give me a 5-star rating and write me a review. It really does help me build this platform, and I appreciate any of you who do so. And I'm looking to speak to as many of you as possible. If you're interested in real estate, in whatever capacity that is, I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with you, see if there's any way whatsoever I can help you. So if you go to the link in the description down below, or you go to wrestlingwithrealestate.com and sign up there, we can hop on a call, just have a great chat. But before that, enjoy today's awesome interview with Matt Teifke. Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Matt Teifke. Hey, Matt.
Hey, man, I love the intro. I'm excited. Thank you for having me on. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely my pleasure. I'm glad you like the intro. I try and put some energy in it, try and get the guest pub, try and get myself going.
Yeah, you get all fired up, man.
It's fun, man. I love this stuff, so it's not hard to get fired up. So Matt, hey, before we kind of jump into the conversation and have a good talk about real estate and everything that's going on with you, do you want to give us an idea about your background, what you've been up to, and kind of what your current focus is these days?
Yeah, man, happy to dive in. I feel very blessed. I was introduced to real estate at an early age. My mom was a single mom, raised my brother and myself, and literally she was cleaning houses. And over time, she ended up owning properties. And by the time I was 16, I think she had 12 houses. And, it didn't bring a ton of money in, but it was building the net worth. And so I was very lucky to be around that and see kind of what real estate could do, because, she worked herself out of not only cleaning the houses, but owning them. And so I just became fascinated, man. Once I learned that you could, put a down payment down and someone could just pay it off and that could be your retirement, I was just hooked. So I got my license when I was 17 years old in college. Got the rookie of the year, my first year, while being a full-time student. And then as committed as you could possibly be to something, that's basically what I've done. So been in the business for 12 years now. Started residential, got my appraiser's license, did apartment leasing, did commercial brokerage, ended up getting my master's degree from Texas A&M as a master's in real estate. So really financial based, modeling and spreadsheets, stuff like that. And just hustling, man. Worked into a situation now where, long story short, we have 30% of a property management company. We manage about 750 single family homes. And then I have 30% of a construction and remodeling company. Does about $2 million a year in revenue and pretty quickly growing. And then I have 50% of a real estate brokerage, and we have 57 agents on the team. And so other than those things, I'm always trying to find properties to own and to buy. Very flexible on trying to do wholesaling or lending out money, and just constantly grinding, man. And I got 2 kids, married, and trying to find balance. I've gotten, basically what I've done with having a small percentage of these businesses is freed up my time where there's operators on these companies that run the businesses. And then I really just help grow and do what I think I can specialize in, which is kind of building the teams and coming up with new ideas and network and stuff like that. So a lot of moving parts there, man, but really just passionate, love it, been on fire, and really committed to learning. What I always like to do is kind of learn from the bottom and build these building blocks, and then just try and build on top of that.
Yeah, that's fascinating, man. That's really fascinating. I was going to ask you what the percentage thing, why 30%, 30%, and 50%, but was that because you wanted to free up some of your time and you wanted not to be 100% in the business, and then when you're 100%, when you own the business and it's just you, right, everything falls on you, so you have that pressure to do everything. But was that the reason behind the smaller percentages?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I never really planned to do this. It just kind of happened, but I was always big on to getting around really good people and growing together. And what I call it, I say this term, I'm sure you've heard of this, is foxhole guys. Like, who do you want in your foxhole when you're at war? And so, like, my big theory is I only want to be around and talking to foxhole people. Life's too short, so I want to be around people that have my back and will die with me if needed. And so it's just been able to find the right people, and I've seen value in them and plugged in, and then kind of remove myself from certain roles. Like, I'm not a big operator. I'm not a super detailed process driven guy. More kind of run my head through the wall, choke slam, body slam type, and just found a lot of great people. And when you get that, which I'm sure when you get around people like that, it's pretty special what you can accomplish together. So it just kind of happened through seeing value and really taking a bet on people, and it just kind of evolved into what it is today.
Yeah, it seems like what you're saying is you found people that were good at what you didn't want to do, right? Like good at stuff you weren't good at necessarily, like your weaknesses, and it seems like just guessing, you're like an action taker, right? You're like a move forward and do it, and kind of and then you need people behind you to figure out the processes of how to make that work, right? Would that be true?
Yeah, that's very true, man. I'm big and just like, don't talk about it, be about it.
Fire ready aim, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's, I've spent a lot of time, and I'm a massive risk taker. But I spent like the first 4 or 5 years of my career, like I used to just I type in real estate on Google 4 times a day and just like tried to learn, got the master's degree. And then I was like, man, I feel like I've listened to every podcast on Bigger Pockets. I've, honed in on my skills. Now I just got to go make things happen. So I started I couldn't buy. I remember when I first got out of college, I wasn't able to get a loan because I actually never was in the business in the 2009, 2012 bubble. I got my license in 2012. But back then, what I hear, and I know this is true, you could go get a loan, no problem. And so when I got out of school, I was on the back end of that where it was almost impossible to get a loan. And so I was doing all these hard money, 9, 10, 12% interest loans, but I was finding good deals. I knew what a good deal was. And I was like, this is the only way that I can take it down is to pay a higher rate. And so I just like took a ton of risks on buying those properties like that because it's the only way I knew how to do it. And I was like, well, then I'll just figure it out later. Maybe I'll sell it. Maybe I'll refinance it. But taking that action ended up being really wise for me because now I've got properties in Austin where it's hard to get properties here. And even at that time, I felt like I was stretching. And man, me and my wife moved. We lived in 8 houses in 3 years. We just kept moving around, buy a house, buy another one, rent it, and what I learned, and I saw this from my mom, is like, if you're willing to sacrifice in this business, anything's possible. It just depends on how much do you want to actually sacrifice. Like, very few people want to move every 2 months, but if you are willing to do that, or if you own a house and you're willing to just rent out the rooms and have roommates, you'll make money, but that's a sacrifice.
Yeah. But why did you guys move 8 times in 3 years? What was the reasoning behind that?
It was just we saw opportunity to acquire more real estate. So I was always looking for the next deal, and we could go move into something, fix it up, get it ready to rent, and then start looking for the next one. And when I found the next one was a function of how many offers I was putting out, and I didn't know if it was going to be a 6 month or a 1 month or a 2 week process to find that next deal. And I've always, on the single family side, like I'm pretty aggressive. And so there'd be days when I'd send out 50 offers a day for 3-4 months. And, I'd be buying these properties for, let's say 120,000 when I legitimately knew that it was worth 200. Like I could list it on the market and sell it for 200 right now. And so we were able to get a loan, move in there, fix it up, and then, keep that process going.
That's incredible. So you're making 50 offers a day. What
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I mean, like, I can't overstate it, but like, as much as you can commit to a craft, that is what I've done with business and real estate specifically. I mean, 24/7 for a long time.
That's awesome. Well, who were you making the offers to? Was it on the MLS? Was it wholesalers? Was it all of the above?
Everything, a lot of MLS. I Then I also saw this big advantage in, because I had the knowledge and I had money, where I would at this point, because I was pulling money out, I was refinancing, and I would just meet every wholesaler. I made this big shift to networking, and like literally anybody and everybody. The biggest developer in Austin, a kid in high school, I go meet with them. I buy them coffee, I buy them lunch, and just saw so much value. But I would go to meetings with wholesalers, and they would see how I would approach the meeting. I would be like, hey, this is your deal. I'm going to run this the way you want me to. But they would see that I would always be looking out for the seller's best interest. And I was lucky because I had all these different infrastructure things that I set up where I could say, hey, Mr. Seller, we can rent it for you and manage it. We could sell it on the MLS. I could buy it for you. I'll partner with you. Like I'd try to be super creative and flexible. And that way there's a good chance that I get the deal and I don't just leave them with my offer and then someone else comes right behind me and beats it. Cause I've been to, one time I went and there was a line of people, like 15 people going in and out. And I got the deal because I presented all options. But for the wholesaler, I would make sure that they would make money first, the wholesaler. Like if I end up being the buyer, great, but I want to make sure you, Mr. or Mrs. Wholesaler, get taken care of. That way you bring me back on your next 5 appointments. And so just over time, built a really, really big network. And Austin, where I'm at, is a pretty small market. So I built a good name and reputation. And then right now, the thing is just keep that going. Like, honor what I'm gonna do. I'm a handshake guy. Like I really, I value. I'm kind of old school in that. I mean, I'll sign a contract for sure, but I'm kind of just like man of my word. I say what I'm gonna do, and I really stick to that. And as you know, like in real estate, your word and your reputation is huge. So just trying to keep that going and building it as best and as much as I can.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, going back a little bit to, it's a really interesting story you said about your mum, right? That she was initially started out cleaning these houses and then she eventually scaled to 16 properties. Like, how did she do that? Do you know? Did she explain it to you how she did it? Was it just traditional MLS or was she doing some creative stuff?
Yes, not so much creative financing. She ended up building a really good team. So one of the guys, the maintenance guy, he works with me now on the property management side. But his name was Robert. He actually was coaching me in baseball. And what happened was my mom, she first moved here from Ohio, and she started cleaning houses. And then my uncle started an asphalt and paving company here in Round Rock. And so my mom started working there and she was doing pretty well. She was doing sales for striping and paving, and making like probably 70, 80, and eventually 100 grand, 110 a year. And all she did really was she built a good team of a good realtor, a good property manager, and she bought 2 properties per year. And just that's what I was saying about the sacrifice. I mean, I got 2 kids and a wife right now, and I still don't even really know how my mom raised my brother and I, and worked a full-time job and bought houses. And what she tells me, she's like, it was kind of a blur. I mean, humans do what you need to do to survive. But she sacrificed. I mean, literally, she was always on her phone. She had 2 or 3 phones. I remember just always seeing my mom on her phone. I remember her waking up at 4 a.m. every day and going to work. And over time, you start buying two, then maybe three a year and start pulling that money out. Eventually, she was able to get a line of credit. Then she started buying money on that line of credit. And, even to this day, she still works. I think she's at like 20 houses now. Okay. And they don't like pay her a ton of money every month. But in 5-7 years, they'll all be paid off and she'll be doing pretty well. But that was a lot of sacrifice. And like, I'm blessed to have seen that, because a lot of people see real estate and they're like, real estate is the way. And I agree. Like, I'm the biggest believer that I really do think everyone should own real estate. But it's not always like this get rich. It's very rarely this get rich quick. But it's something that works. But she still worked that job to make it all work. So I was lucky to kind of see all that, to basically model my whole career after, to realize like, yeah, the assets are great, but you got to still be making money. And multifamily can be a little bit different, and there's thousands of ways to go about it. But for me, it was like, let me build property management, which is like steady income first. Then I'll be always trying to add properties and also trying to be a broker. And then along the way, just being entrepreneurial, trying to get around good people and always testing out new things. I mean, I've invested in restaurants and different things like that. The one restaurant I did invest in, it went belly up, lost 20 grand. But that's part of the game, you just got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to laugh then when you losing money. When you said invest in real estate, I started laughing before you said the 20 grand thing. So I'm sorry you lost money. But the reason I'm saying that is like, I hear that time and time again, right? I'm sure there's successful people that run restaurants. I know there is, because I eat at them, right? But man, that seems like such a tough business. Like the success rate in starting up a restaurant has got to be wafer thin, right? In terms of, what you can achieve.
Yeah, and I was betting on the guy. I saw he was a hard worker, a hustler. I'm always betting on the people.
Yeah.
And this is just the way I do business. I'll just give you my thought process. Like, if I had a restaurant and say you were going to invest in me, right? And it was just me, independent owner, running my business, and you gave me 20 grand, I would, no matter what happened, I would still pay you back. Maybe it would take longer. But say my restaurant fails, like, I'm going to get you your 20 grand back.
Yeah.
And that's the people that I kind of want to be around. This guy ended up not being that type of person. And I don't blame him. I would say probably very few people think the way I do like that. But my whole thing was always find the right people, bet on them. And it's hard to go wrong if you found the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, for sure, right? It's almost better to have, I've heard of people hiring people for a job that they had no idea what to do because they liked that person, right? It's easier to train that person to learn that skill of that job, whatever it is, right? Even if you take property management for account, whatever, leasing or whatever it is, right? If you find a good person, find something for them to do, right? Because that skill of being a good person and driven and doing, like you said, all those things that you said, say what you're going to do, what you're going to do, what you say that you're going to do, right? Do all those things, being a person of your word and all those other things, right? It's hard to find they're not growing on trees, but you can teach people how to do a skill, right? So it's better to find a person, and if it's a good person, bring them in and find something for them to do and work.
Absolutely. With. And you don't want to bet against those people, right? Like you with your career, like if you were going to say like, this is what I'm going to do, obviously you were motivated and committed to a goal. I don't want to bet against you. I'd rather bet on you, right? And so when you find those people, be on the other side of not betting against them is my theory.
Yeah, for sure, right? Yeah, like you said, you want those people that is gonna go to war with you, right? You're gonna have your back. You want to ride those people's coattails, right? That's a great thing about real estate, I think, as well, is like you don't have to do everything yourself, right? You can like delegate so much stuff out, and you can work with people, and you can use them, right? If you find someone that you see their trajectory and they're heading towards the moon, well, jump onto that rocket with them, right? Like find a way to work with that person and just jump on that rocket with them, and you guys can go to the moon together. Yeah, I love that.
I agree, man. And one of my buddies, I'm gonna have to get you on his podcast, Adam Carswell. He told me this, and I was, I think, subconsciously believing this for a long time. And I don't know where he got this, but he said, "He who experiments the most wins." And I agree. I mean, I'm a big risk taker. You know, I had a problem with it like maybe 6, 7 years ago. I would gamble on all kinds of stuff growing up. It's my brother and I started betting on like video games like Mario Kart, and I'll do chores for a week and I lose. All right, I'll do chores for a year, you know, and we just like kept doubling down and like it was a problem. Like I lost tons of money on that. Like I was betting on Korea tennis in Korea that I wasn't even watching. I was just looking at the odds. And what I did was, I mean, I hit a low point. Like I'm probably the biggest gambler. You know, I could hang out and match anyone. Like I just would gamble it all, and it hit a couple low points. And what I've tried to do is use that as my strength in some ways. Not 50-50 bet on a football game, but take the risk on things that I understand and that I put the work into. And my new thing, which we do a training for our real estate brokerage, and I really believe this, man, and we can get into this in a bit if you want, but like anything that I personally am feeling scared of, like there's probably a good chance that I want to go do that now. Like my heart starts racing. Like at one point for me, it was public speaking. I was just like so scared of doing that, and my heart would just race. And then when I went in there and did it, like I loved it, and it was like that adrenaline for me. What I say now is like that's living. Like that's good, man. I don't want to just be slow heartbeat, average. Like I want to go and attack the fear because that life's short, you know. And so that's where my mind is now. And what I was kind of alluding to is is kind of another subject, but I've always felt led to politics, and I'm going to be running for city council here in Round Rock where I live in like a month. It's kind of scary, and like I've talked to a lot of people, and they're like, "It's gonna get messy. It's gonna be bad." I'm like, really? Like what? It seems kind of crazy to me. People are just gonna start attacking me. But that, as we all know, that is probably politics. But that's something right now in my life that like I'm feeling that intensity, and I just want to go attack it and go test it out and see what it's like.
I love that. I love that you've got to that point where when you sense fear or sense discomfort or sense something that's challenging, you want to go after it, right? Because most people, like, they want to go the other way, right? Something's difficult or it's not something that they feel comfortable with, right? They just kind of they head the other way, right? And you said that at one point you kind of were that. How do you train that skill? Because that's a skill, right? Once you have that skill and you've built that, right? You're like, I can sense fear. Okay, let me go running head first into whatever that situation is, and that's awesome. That's a huge skill to have, I think, because no situation scares you, and in fact it's the opposite, right? It excites you. But was there some things that you did to manage to build that skill?
Yeah, I think I'd love to hear your opinion on this too, because that's I feel like a lot of what your world is. It was especially with Cirque du Soleil and wrestling. But I think what if I were to simplify it for me, all it is like I feel good I'm good with nothing. Like I feel blessed to have my health, to have family. Money and stuff is obviously important in life. But I want to like take risks, and if I don't have any money, like I'm good, but at least I know I tried. And so it's really just wanting to be in the game and realizing that I'm either gonna win, lose, or stay where I'm at. But like any option is fine as long as I'm trying. That's just how I've always viewed things. So I don't think I've ever really like zoned in on like training that skill. But for me, it's more of a foundation and a background to be like, I'm good, I'm blessed regardless. And like, let me just go out and live and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
that's
I
cool.
mean,
That's because I think, yeah, because like you said, I think what it is, a lot of these situations, like this fear and this discomfort, it's all in our head, or 99% of it is all in our head, right? Because you build the situation up in your head way worse, right? I remember being a kid and Friday, you do something wrong in school on Friday, and the teacher says, I'll see you Monday. Rather than punishing you there and then, right? He says, I'll see you Monday. Now you've got all weekend to be like, oh no, what's going to happen Monday? And you build it up in your head. Then Monday comes, he goes, all right, don't do that again. And
right.
that fear and that thing in your head is 10 times bigger than a lot of situations. And we build it up in our head. And I think if you can kind of display, like you said, like, what's the worst that can happen, right? I have my health, I'm happy, I'm okay being with nothing. So what's the worst that can happen? And so I think that's changing that mindset. And I think for me as well, what it is, a lot of, I put myself in discomfort all the time, right? I don't know if I jump into it the same as you, but I put myself in this situation, and sometimes I'm like, God, why have I done this again? Stop doing this, you idiot. But it always works out, because once you face that fear and you do it, for me anyway, I feel so exhilarated, right? It's like, oh man, I did that. That's awesome. Like, it wasn't so bad. It was actually 10 times better than I ever thought it was, right? But also I think having a goal and having working to someone, because with wrestling and everything I did to get to where I am, I think I had a goal, and it wasn't clear, but I wanted more for my life, and I wanted to achieve something. I think that drive was higher than any fear that I had, even though I had tons of fear, constant fear of stuff and discomfort and stuff, but that was stronger than anything else. I think that's what it was for me.
Yeah, that's good, man. And for me, when I think of fear, because even when I was growing up, I did work at a lot of jobs that I looked at the clock. And I got my real estate license and got into this business in a lot of ways, I do believe, out of fear. I have a fear of working for people, and not necessarily just like as that sounds off the bat, but of people telling me what to do. I don't want to be in that position. I'm okay with it if we have like if we're working together, but like someone putting themselves above me and like yelling at me and this is what you do, this, that. Like I have that fear, which started when I remember that's why I got my real estate license. Like I never want to be in that position, and I just want to work so hard to prevent that from ever being a possibility. And still to this day, like I'm so scared of like things changing and me having to go get a 9 to 5 job. Like that scares me really, really bad.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing that, man. Thank for being so honest, because I think that's awesome. Like, fear doesn't have to be a good thing, right? If you let it control you, right? And you let that fear actually drive you, right? You let that fear of having people be your boss, having people tell you what to do, people, being authoritative over you, right? That drives you. And even to this day, like, I think that's such an interesting insight, because you always wonder what drives people, right? There's different things that drives different people. What makes some people do everything and some people do nothing, right? And it's so interesting, that fear. So I think that's, for anyone listening, they can be like, what am I scared of, right? What can drive me, right? You can use these things to like power you and move you forward, rather than disable you and cripple you in whatever you're doing, right? And stop you from doing anything more. I think that's so interesting. I
Yeah,
really
and
share that.
I think what's interesting too is like on the flip side of that, I think part of the reason I have these partnerships is because at the same time, I don't actually want to tell anyone what to do myself either. I don't want to be that person. And so rather than have employees, I'd rather have partners. So, I think that goes both ways. Like I'm not great at like having someone that I tell what to do at all times. Rather, it's like, hey, here's what I'm going to accomplish. Here's what you're going to accomplish. Let's go get it, and let's go benefit each other. Versus, I'm going to pay you, 40 hours a week, and I'm going to check up on you. I don't want to be that person either. So I think it goes hand in hand on both sides.
Yeah, and then you're both mutually beneficial to each other, right? That's kind of cool. You also said that you were an agent at 17. Like, is that like that's how do you not have to be 18 to get your license? No, how does that work? How were you able to, were you still in school at the time, in high
I
school?
was. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. I was yeah, so I started as like an assistant, and you do have to be 18. And so basically, man, I had the mentality, first one in, last one out of the office. I was going to school. At this time in my life, I thought, being a real estate agent, you had to dress a certain way. So I was wearing a suit and tie to class, getting out, worried about real estate. I was actually working at Papa John's, delivering pizza while I was making money to get the commissions to come in. My first call came in while I was mopping the floor, and then I remember that was my first lead. But it was a grind, man. I mean, I didn't go out to the bars. I did my first 2 years of college. I lived that life, but uh, I kind of alienated myself as well from like people I was living with. I was just more committed to setting myself up. And everyone has different path. Like I don't necessarily think mine's right or wrong. A lot of people say it was wrong to go all in and to not have balance. But I really essentially look at it like I sacrificed 10 years of my life. I'm about to be 30, and I put myself 10 years ahead of where I would have been if I would have lived life differently. So man, it was just I found a mentor. He talked to me an hour a day. I was taking 18 hours of school. I got the rookie of the year, and that I'm the only reason I'm proud of that. Not to brag, but because I think it just shows like how committed I was because I was competing against people that were doing real estate full time. And so I was still a student and doing the real estate, which I think honestly that probably helped me in some ways to get that award. But just really grind, man. Just got around some good people, and I remember like making my first like $6,000 check, and just blew my mind. Like 6,000, like that, man. And then I got another one for 7 and 8, and it was such a different feeling than getting a $500 paycheck. You know.
Well, especially when you're 18, right? That's a ton of money. Like especially
Yeah.
12 years ago as well. 6 grand when you're 18 is like
Yeah.
you can't even imagine like how much money that is. Like,
I
yeah.
know. It blew my mind, man. It blew my mind.
How many transactions did you do in your first year?
I think I did maybe like 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But did you have any trouble like being 18 and probably fresh faced, like young looking, like trying to get clients, trying to get people? Because obviously selling or buying a home is one of the biggest transactions normal people make, right? And I say normal, people that don't invest in real estate, right? When people invest in real estate, it's not so much of a big deal, but people who are buying maybe their first home or selling their house, like it's a huge thing for them, and rightly so. It's a big dollar item. Did you have any trouble with that being so young, or were you so committed that it didn't matter so much to people?
Yeah, I think so committed that you use it as a strength. Because we have agents now, and I tell them like, you know, there's a good chance that a brand new agent is going to work a lot harder than someone who's been doing it for 10 years. So that's really like huge. And use your broker as your experience and be like, look, you're my only client. You're the only person I care about. There's no way that someone's going to care and work harder than I am, and use that to your biggest advantage, which I think is a real advantage. I mean, even me now being 12 years in, I'd rather work with somebody like that than, someone that's, $10 million producer or whatever all day.
Yeah. Because they're hungry, they're going to do whatever it takes, right, to succeed. As long as they're hungry, right? It's
Yeah.
you need that to have that hunger. You also said as well, like it's interesting that you got your degree, a master's, was it right, in real estate? What does
Yeah.
that look like? Well, how useful is that realistic in real estate? Is it real? Is it? I'm guessing they're not teaching you the same stuff they're teaching in Bigger Pockets, right? They're not talking about the Burr method or like the 1% rule or stuff like that. But maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's definitely different. And I was lucky to get in there. I kind of scratched and clawed my way to get accepted there because there's not many programs for master's degrees in real estate. In my opinion, A&M is the best. There's some other ones that are good too, but it's 100% commercial based. And so everybody that I went to that program with is now working at the larger financial institutions, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, stuff like that, and they're doing financial modeling.
Okay.
So it was a lot of underwriting, what you see like syndicators do. And then, it was really cool. Like the first class was real estate law. It was taught by an actual real estate attorney. Real estate appraisal taught by an actual appraiser. So we got like to get around people that were practitioners, and then at the same time the Aggie, Texas A&M Aggie real estate, but Aggie in general is a pretty big network. And so I was able to graduate with 15, 20 people that are planning to be in the real estate business for the next 50 years. So that alone was big. There's a good alumni that have graduated from there. And so every Friday, someone would come in and talk to our class, and then we'd get to go and sit down with that person, have lunch, and pick their brain. So it was like a, education and knowledge, and then at the same time, network. For me, what it did, I think, the only one that got into brokerage. Right when I got out, I went and worked at a commercial brokerage for 3 years. But what it did for me was it gave me a confidence to where I feel like I can talk real estate with anybody. Even if someone's running a $1 billion hedge fund, like I can understand the lingo and I've studied it, and I can be in the room and feel confident and that I put in the work to add value there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. All those things are important, right? Because the more you understand, the more, knowledge is power, right? The more knowledge you have, the more power you have. So that's great, man. What is so in terms of real estate now? Obviously, you have the construction part owner of the construction business, part owner of the management company. You're 50% owner of the agent brokerage, right? Of the residential agent brokerage, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
But in terms of real estate holdings, what do you own any rental real estate, or are you just mostly wholesaling?
Yeah, so I have 20 multifamily units.
Okay.
I have 15 houses, and then I have a 14 unit mobile home park.
Oh, 14. That's pretty small, right? For mobile home parks.
Yeah, it's a great location. It's actually in like not central Austin, but right outside of central Austin, on Burleson Road and 71 for people that know what I'm talking about. Um, and yeah, it's pretty sweet property. It's my favorite property.
Oh, really? Well, talk a little bit. How did you find that deal then? Because were you
Cold
looking
call.
for mobile home parks, or did it just come your way because you're in the business and kind of busy?
My partner Alex, who is gonna hopefully come on your show, was cold calling mobile home parks, and this guy's owned this park for like 40 years. We went and talked to him. He started talking for 2 hours about aliens and all kinds of stuff, man. We just let him talk.
Yeah.
We walked out of that meeting with a signed contract, and now we own it.
Wow, that's awesome. So how does that work? Do you guys own the pads, or do you own the mobile homes as well?
Just the pads. Yeah.
Okay. So for people who don't know, maybe give a quick high level description of how a mobile home park works.
Yeah, so everyone can run them differently, but this one, the owners own the actual units that are on the spot, and they basically pay us land rent. So it's about $400 per lot, and we don't have any expenses really. They take care of all their expenses. We'll pay the water, which is not much there, and they basically just take care of everything, and we just collect that rent. So very low maintenance. And for us, this is a long-term play on the land. Like it's almost 3 acres, and we think it could be developed into like some townhomes or small multifamily. If Austin would allow Airbnb, like Round Rock where I live, you can do Airbnb all day. Man, if they would allow it, we would crush it. But they allow Airbnb, but it's like you have to get a license and it has to be your primary residence. And so, that's a whole other conversation about like government, telling you what you can do. Where Houston, you can do whatever you want with any property, no zoning. And so, like, I dream of that, but I know there's probably challenges that come up with it. But basically just collecting the rent on the land. The guy wasn't very organized that we're buying it from, so we had to go at it like it was just land from the lender's perspective. And then we're just trying to maintain it until we do something with it, like maybe 10 years down the line. Everything I do with real estate, I literally think like 15, 20, 30 years, playing the long game with it.
That's cool, yeah, because you guys have that land play, but at the same time, you guys are making pretty decent cash flow, I'd say, right? If you have 15 pads paying you $400 each, and you don't have much overhead right on top of that, it's pretty nice. And in terms of management as well, I'm guessing really easy as well, right? Once you've collected all the rents, that's pretty much all you have to do, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had some challenges with the pandemic and everything, with people not being able to be evicted on some of our houses and stuff. But we just work through it the best we can and try to get payment plans where we can. It's a struggle, man. Because I'm kind of like wear my heart on my sleeve type person, and we had a girl that I didn't evict because I wanted to work with her, and then Trump announced the eviction moratorium, and next day she said, "Screw you guys, I'm not paying." And even right now, I mean, she owes us like 18,000, and that's real money, and it's not easy to make that happen, but she's not paying her rent and she can't be evicted. So, that's a major challenge right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't know why the landlords are the ones that seem to have to burden this pain, right? Why are we the ones that have to be like, the tenants can't be evicted, right? So why are we, and the government is giving people money as well on top of this? Why are we the ones getting burdened with this issue, right? We're not, most of us aren't billionaires, right? We're not Donald Trump ourselves, right? I wish we were. If that was the case, it wouldn't be such a big issue. But it's most people, like you said, similar to your mum, right? Just people trying to make a better life for themselves, right? And it's just,
yeah, you're right, man. There's a perception, I think, of they own the real estate, they're multimillionaires, like all this stuff, and it's just not always true. And even if it is, it's like people built their way up to that, and you got responsibilities. You gotta, we still pay the mortgage. So you wish you could go WWE sometimes and just go throw them out. But
choke slam some people, yeah. Yeah, but the thing is as well, that's a great point, right? Like, even most people aren't. I know that I am, right? Not this multi-millionaire, right? I wish I was. But even if you are making money, right, you've done a lot of stuff, right? Usually you've bought that property and you've taken a risk, right, to buy that property, right? You've done what most people aren't willing to do. You've saved up, or you found other people's money and you've gone ahead and bought that property, right? You've done when most people are in front of the TV watching TV or playing computer games or whatever down the pub or doing whatever, right? You've been looking for property, trying to better your life and improve that community. And then you've taken that property a lot of times, improved it, right? Fixed it up, made it better, and try to give people a better place to live, right? You've done all these good things. You've done stuff that most people can't do or won't do or too lazy to do. And then you get punished for that and you get stigmatized as well as this greedy landlord. It's just crazy to me sometimes.
Yeah, you're right, man. 100%. It's can be very frustrating, but just, try to be the best people we can and get through. And I want to work with people. Like, I don't want to kick people out, and just to me, it's just communicate. Like, just be real and communicate, and don't lie, and things will work out. But there's always that percentage of people that I'm convinced that there's, like, I don't know what percentage, but a certain percentage of people that just are always going to make things difficult and take advantage of things, and it's just going to happen. If you're getting out there and taking risks, you're going to run into these kind of things. Yeah. And I don't want to be self-righteous, like. I can be that type of person too in certain situations, probably. Like, everyone you can go down these paths and become something, and we just try to do our best to be good people and get through it. But people are in challenging situations, so I try to have sympathy and understand, like, it's not always as simple as I want to paint it to be. Like, I don't truly know her situation, so I'm not going to really judge her, but I have to deal with the situation somehow.
Yeah, no, and that's such a good point, Ryan. And I hope nobody that gets lost in, right? I'm not saying, hey, screw the tenant either, right? Like, kick it out. Like, this pandemic is real, right? And it's affecting people all over the country in very negatively, right? Very negatively impacting people. And that's very real. It's not like we're saying, hey, we want to make people homeless. Hey, we want to kick people out. But at the same time, right, it's like we could lose our properties, right? We have a mortgage on our property. I know I do. We have mortgages on our properties, and we still have to make those payments, right? And so it can negatively affect us. So that just sometimes I wish there was more of a happy medium, right, in terms of like where everything goes. But like you said, all you can control is yourself, right? All you can control you can just control what you can control, and it's better, take care of that and then worry about the rest of it afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Well, hey, cool, man. This has been, man, you lived a fascinating life and like really interesting real estate career. To do so many stuff and to start so young and do, wear so many hats and to get to where you are now and still have that drive and hunger and that determination is really cool to hear, man. So I love that. I love that a lot. But as this show is called Wrestling with Real Estate, I like to incorporate some wrestling related real estate questions. So the first one I like to ask is, what would your wrestling name be if you picked one for yourself?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I'm gonna go with I gotta be a little wild card. All right. So I'm gonna go with the risk-taking underdog.
The risk-taking underdog. Okay, because you're the underdog, but you're not scared of taking risks. I like that. The risk-taking.
People don't know. People won't know. I mean, I can't overpower, so I gotta keep them off balance somehow.
You gotta let people think that you're down and out, and then you're gonna come powering back. I like that.
I'm gonna do something really risky that it's either gonna be great or horrible. But...
That's awesome. That's awesome. So every wrestler has a special move, right? It's their biggest strength. What is your special move in real estate? What is your biggest strength, you think?
Yeah, I think my biggest strength, man, is finding these foxhole people, really, and just seeking out, at a basic level, it would be just networking. But really what it is like finding the right people, presenting myself in a certain way to let them know that I'm ideally one of those people as well, and building that team. So like seeking out foxhole people and building a team, I feel like is really what I'm trying to zone in and double down on.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Right. You just get those people on board with you. That's awesome. What's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your real estate investing career, you think?
Yeah. So along with, doing all these partnerships, I've had one bad partnership. And that was tough. I mean, a guy that I really liked and still like, but, the thing is, he had some issues, and I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, but just partnership gone wrong. And we own like 7 properties still together, and we're trying to like work through this the best we can. That's kind of messy. I hate that how that happened, and kind of ruined a friendship in some ways. That sucks.
Was there anything you could have done differently, you think, looking back now?
I think, back to, I guess the handshake type stuff is good and bad. There were things that weren't understood in certain ways for each of us that maybe we could have been more clear, but it's easy to say now. But like, just to keep it simple, like I said, hey, I'll put up all the money and then I get paid back, and then we split the profits 50-50. And that kind of got misconstrued in like, I meant like money to buy the properties. But he's like throwing in like his marketing costs and all this other stuff that is like 20-40 grand. I'm like, I never knew you were spending this money. I never agreed to any of this stuff. But I did say that on a surface level, so just should have been more clearly defined.
Yeah. I think it's have everything in writing, right? And have everything, like, even if it's your mother or your dad or whatever it is, right? Have everything like clearly defined, so there's no issue, right? Because it's better to have too much transparency than too little, right? It's just, I hear it time and time again, and it's I think it's definitely true. So was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? What was it, and how did you overcome it?
I think right now, man, it's current. It's what I was talking about on the politics stuff. And I think, I kind of backed away from it a little bit recently, but now I'm all in. I'm going for it. But to me, it was I've always been trying to build a good reputation and a good business. And when I've talked to 15 people and they say people are going to attack you, they're going to drag you through the mud. Got a little scared of that affecting my business and my businesses. But I just said, screw it. I'm literally like fresh on this as of today, saying I'm going for it. Like, I'm going to go file, and win or lose, I want to win, obviously, but at least I'll know that I tried.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love that. I love that. Heading into the unknown, right, and being willing to kind of put yourself out there, man. That's really brave of you. So that's awesome, man. Hopefully you succeed, man. Hopefully we'll speak in a few months or whenever the election happens, that you'll come out on top. So I hope you will, man. You'll be the champion, right? Then you'll have to change your name to. Are you going for? Is it the mayor? What position are you going for?
No, it's just the city council. So
city council. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
soon you'll have to change your name to the counselor or something as a wrestler.
That's
Cool, man.
fine.
What? Hey, awesome, man. Thank you so much for making the time, man. And you got really, I mean, like you got such an interesting story, and like to have done what you've done, and like so much experience, right? I can only imagine the experience you have and the through everything that you've been through. So I love that. But before we go, can you, if people want to reach out to you, hear more about what you've going on, about the businesses, about everything you have going on with you, how can they get in touch with you? Where can they find out more?
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. You saying all that, and you know, feelings mutual just from afar, like looking at your career. But would love to have you on our show as well, if you ever have
Absolutely.
interest. But I'm really easy to get a hold of. You know, we're on YouTube. We got Teifke Real Estate. We got a channel there. Instagram Teifke Real Estate. Matt Teifke on Facebook. MattTeifke@gmail.com. Super easy to get a hold of, man. I respond pretty quick and try to stay on top of it. So I'd love for people to reach out. I'm big on trying to be a resource any way I can, a big connector. So any way I can add value, count me in. I'll try and make that happen.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.